Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first quarterly community crime safety meeting. I'm Officer Ben Ransom with the Crime Prevention, and we are happy to bring you this meeting live on Zoom in this cold weather. And thank you for joining us tonight. Published slides and video recording of this meeting will be added to the village website at a later date. And before we get started with tonight's presentations, I will have a word from our police chief, Jim O'Shea. We will to the Pledge Allegiance before. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chief Jim O'Shea.
Thank you, Officer Ransom, and welcome to the January Community Safety Meeting, our first quarterly meeting of 2021. Just want to welcome everyone that's going to be watching live tonight and those that will be watching the replay that you'll be able to find on the village website. If you are watching it live, as you know, you just made it through our first big snowfall of 2021. We hope everyone is safe, warm, and their sidewalks are shoveled. I do want to recognize that January, as we talk about awareness months, January is considered National Stalking Awareness Month. And stalking affects millions of women and men in the United States. Stalking occurs when someone repeatedly harasses or threatens someone else, causing fear or safety concerns. Most often, stalking occurs by someone the victim knows or whom they've had an intimate relationship with. We need to help prevent stalking by knowing the warning signs and how to get help. According to the CDC, stalking is common. About 1 in 6 women and 1 in 17 men have experienced stalking in their lifetimes. Stalking starts early. Nearly 54% of female victims and 41% of male victims experience stalking before the age of 25. Stalking impacts the physical and mental health of victims. Research shows stalking can lead to depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. About 68% of female and 70% of male victims experience threats of physical harm during their lifetime. I also want to mention, as we're keeping relevant to what's going on in the news, carjackings in the city of Chicago and Cook County continue to rise, and I will knock on wood that in River Forest so far this year we've been not experiencing those. But as reported recently, there's been over 150 carjackings in the city of Chicago alone since January 1st. To add to some of the other statistics that we're facing in the area that sometimes affects us because we border the city of Chicago, just so far, January to date in Chicago, there's been 44 individuals shot and killed, 162 shot and wounded, and 206 individuals total, both shot and killed. The total homicides in Chicago is 45, which means there was one more homicide than were shot, which means by other means. And I just want to wrap up my opening comments. I'll be available for questions with the other members of our panel tonight at the end of our presentation. If you see something or hear something, please say something. And also report any suspicious activity to law enforcement. And most importantly, please just call 911. Thank you. Officer Ransom, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Chief. Our first guest speaker tonight is Pamela Mann. Pamela is Director of Senior Services at the Oak Park River Forest Township. She is a recent recipient of the 2020 Director of the Year Award by the Illinois Township Association of Senior Citizen Services Committee. Welcome, Pamela, and I will let you take over and share your screen.
Great, thanks so much, Ben. The screen share is still not allowing me to share.
Okay, try it now.
Got it. Okay. I'm going to do that and I'm going to share. Do you see the screen now?
Yeah, we see it. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So you should see the logos there. So as Ben said, I'm Pamela Mon. I'm the Director of Senior Services for Oak Park and River Forest Townships. I have worked serving older adults in the communities of Oak Park and River Forest for nearly 25 years, and I'm very proud to continue doing that in this capacity. We are, during this last year, we've had to pivot pretty significantly due to COVID-19. But what I'd like to emphasize to everyone is that we continue to do the work to serve the community, and we've just modified our delivery methods. So, where we were providing meals on site at our 130 South Oak Park Avenue building, we're now doing a drive-through option for people to come and get those same meals. Where we're doing homebound delivery to residents with our staff and a truck and a couple volunteers. We now have, many volunteers who are helping in that effort because we've seen our numbers increase dramatically. Where we've had staff going to do in-home appointments, they're now doing by phone appointments. And where we've had support groups, we're doing Zoom calls. So we have really, the team has just worked together fantastically to pivot the programs and services so that we can continue the delivery and continue to offer the programs and services, but just in a little bit different manner than what we all were really accustomed to doing prior to now. So overall, our goal is to help older adults maintain their independence in the community as long as possible. And we are still, during COVID-19, striving to make sure that we're doing that. We're also opening up opportunities for, direct involvement for connectedness in the community, whether that be through volunteer opportunities. We've got volunteers who are doing well-being calls for us and finding other ways to remain connected during this time as well. This is just a quick slide to kind of give everybody an idea of the programs and services that we offer. We're very fortunate in the Oak Park and River Forest area. We have a wealth of programs and resources available for older adults in the community. We've made a concerted effort to have a broad continuum of services available. We're very unique in that we do it all under one roof. So we're the designated care coordination unit. We're the designated adult protective service unit doing investigations for elder abuse and neglect and exploitation. We also provide meals and transportation. We do benefits applications. So all of those things are available to residents of both Oak Park and River Forest communities. We work very closely with River Forest Township, and we operate under an intergovernmental agreement so that whether you live in Oak Park or River Forest, you get the same exact services. So I won't go through all of these tonight, but just know that they're all available, and I'll have more contact information as we go through. Just to give you an idea of what a typical year looks like, this was a year pre-COVID, okay, where we, served, over 4,300 residents between the two communities. We provided 25,000 rides, 48,000 meals to homebound residents, and so on. So you're seeing some of the numbers that go along with the services that we offer. Thankfully, only 60 investigations for abuse and not more than that. But this is what a pre-COVID array of numbers looks like. In this last year, we have seen that the 48,000 for meals delivered to homebound and the 17 for the dining room, that combined number has now turned into over 135,000 meals over the course of the year. So as I said, dramatic increases in the numbers of meals going out. And then this last screen of services just kind of highlights, again, as I spoke about, the volunteer service hours that we have, great volunteers assisting with paying bills for older adults, managing their money, developing budgets, volunteers who deliver meals, do well-being calls and different things. We also have care coordinators who are going out and doing assessments in the home typically, but now by phone, to make sure that older adults are getting the support and the services that they need, or they're getting linked to the benefit programs that they need to help them remain in the community as long as possible. If there's one thing that's important to take away from what I talk about tonight, it's this: is if you're an older adult, if you're a family member, if you're a caregiver, please just write down our number, 383-8060. If you don't know where to start about a certain topic, or you have a question, give us a call. We've got trained team members who can help you navigate, whether you're looking for housing options, or you're looking for a certain benefit, or you're looking for COVID vaccine, whatever it may be. We're here to provide information and resources and assistance. And then the other piece of that equation is we do get calls from residents who are like, they're calling and saying, I'm concerned about my parent. They live in another area. This eldercare.acl.gov website or phone number, you can call this number, give the zip code of where the older adult lives, and they will provide contact information on the local senior service agency in that person's area. So we want to make sure that we get information out to everyone, regardless of where they live. If they're looking for resources, this is the best way to do it if they're outside of our area. Just wanted to touch on a couple quick things. In some of the positive outcomes we've seen this year due to COVID-19, we've started to, do some thinking outside of the box, like I said, with, remote working for our staff and, Zoom calls for support groups and things. We're also putting together a foster grandparent program. It had started pre-COVID, but now we're trying to move it to a virtual format and work with the Collaboration for Early Childhood on getting that up and running. We're also, making sure that we're meeting older adults where they are, getting them the resources and the messaging that they need in the way they need it. Maybe they don't have an email address to and an internet account to sign up for a vaccination and get an email confirmation. So we'll help with that, or we will help them get a tablet so that they can become more tech savvy. We've got a group of scouts who are helping us with some positive messaging to the seniors and kind of creating some pen pal opportunities. So we're very, very excited that we've been able to pivot and continue to serve the community in this last year, and step up in the way that we have, to make sure everybody's getting what they need. And if I had a magic wand, we would have greater ability to plan for all of this and provide more to everybody. And we would have better utilization of some of our programs, like the Great Neighbors program. What we've seen is, isolation and loneliness has increased dramatically in this last year. And we really would like everyone to focus on the fact that it's okay to speak up and raise your hand and say, I need help. I need someone to talk to. I just need someone to check in with me once in a while. So having some of those things would certainly be helpful. And one thing I get asked again and again is about a call center capability. Like, is there a 311, or is there a way that we can, have something available when senior services isn't open after 5 o'clock, or when, it's on the weekend or whatever. So those are things, if I had a wish list and never ending resources, we would definitely put on the list. And then I just quickly wanted to mention two initiatives that you likely have heard about, the dementia-friendly Oak Park and River Forest communities initiatives. We're working to educate the community about what it's like to live with dementia and be a caregiver of someone living with dementia. But also being more friendly to situations where you might be out in the community and see something, and maybe you don't understand why that person is having some difficulty, but now with this increased awareness and education, we can kind of create a greater understanding. And then you may have heard the Village of River Forest just approved the OPRF home repair program. We're hoping to see that come to fruition in the next few months. We're waiting on final approval from the Village of Oak Park. I thought I'd just share a couple quick pictures with you to show some of the great partnerships that we've had over the last many months with making sure we're getting deliveries out to older adults. The Cook County Sheriff's Office came. There's some local River Forest residents helping. We had the police department directing traffic and the cab company helping us with delivery. So it truly has been a community effort and a partnership across many levels. And here's my contact information. If you have any questions or need any further information, I'm happy to answer questions or get emails if you need further clarification.
Excellent. Thank you, Pamela. If anyone viewing has direct questions now, you can enter them in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. Otherwise, feel free to contact Pamela through that link up at the top there.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Pamela. I think that it's really clear that just this past year, really how valuable the township services are, and the village should be really grateful that all those services are available as we deal with this pandemic. Before we move on to the next, our next presenter, just want to talk about the services as a whole. Senior services, we probably partner with the township to support all these services, and it's we have the Senior Citizen Response Task Force, we have Dementia Friendly River Forest, lots of other programs that we partner with and support, and we can get you connected with them through a variety of ways. If you contact our police department, contact me, Officer Ransom, or go through the township directly. We also have a lot of youth services that we support and partner with, and that is why we have Kelly O'Connor here to talk about positive youth development. Kelly is the Prevention Services Manager, and I will turn it back over to Kelly.
Thanks, Ben. Let's see if I can share my screen. Okay, you'll have to allow me to share.
Yep, you should be good to go.
Okay, great. Okay, are we good? Everyone see it? All right, great, thank you. So thank you, Ben, for that. As he mentioned, my name is Kelly O'Connor. I'm the Prevention Services Manager for the Oak Park and River Forest Township. PYD is a community coalition for both communities, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and then I'll finish up with some of the other initiatives that we are doing at the township to bring prevention more into our communities. Obviously, with COVID, prevention is very much on everyone's mind, and really this past year has shown the community that how important it is and how it really needs to be treated as a public health model, looking through things with that lens. So let's see, next. So the Positive Youth Development, or PYD, the Oak Park River Forest Work Group for Positive Youth Development brings the community together to identify and implement prevention strategies that support youth in making healthy choices and to lead alcohol and drug-free lives. This is a mission and vision statement that we've created about 5 years ago. It took about 4 or 5 years to get to this point, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. I do want to mention down here at the bottom, we recently received a Drug-Free Communities grant in 2019, which was a really huge accomplishment for our community. And I'm very proud to collaborate with Village of River Forest law enforcement, in addition to many other community organizations. So why a coalition and why here? In 2010, a group of parents in a community group were looking at the Illinois Youth Survey. This group was a body that helped kind of advise. It was a citizens council at the time at District 200. And so the Illinois Youth Survey results from that year, we noticed that the youth rate was fairly high. And so it was information that we didn't feel we could just keep to ourselves. So we started having some meetings to discuss some of the data coming out of that survey. And for those of you that are not familiar with that, the IYS, or the Illinois Youth Survey, is a self-reported anonymous survey that our youth give. It's 8th, 10th, and 12th graders that take this. And the results of that are what kind of started this whole movement. In 2015, about 5 years after the community group really met with stakeholders and other leaders in the communities to discuss this and really address how do we best, how do we go about doing this? The Illinois Department of Human Services, we received a grant in 2015 called the Strategic Prevention Framework Partnership for Success Grant. And so what the SPIF PSS grant allowed us to do was to use this, this process. And you can see the little flower logo over here. There are 5 processes to that. There's the assessment, the capacity, planning, implementation, evaluation. And so our community took about 1.5 years to do our community assessment, looking at other data sources beyond the Illinois Youth Survey. We were looking at what was going on in the community at all different levels. And then we built capacity. Then there was the planning stage. And so the SPIF, the SPF process, is really a public health, and it's kind of like the gold standard when you're working on prevention efforts. So we just continued mobilizing parents and community organizations in both Oak Park and River Forest. So as I mentioned, in 2019, we received the Drug-Free Communities Grant. So who actually makes up the coalition? There are 12 sector representatives that need to be present within the coalition. And that includes youth, parents, business organizations, a media representative, schools, youth serving organizations, law enforcement, civic and volunteer organizations, religious and fraternal organizations, healthcare, and then state and local government, and then substance abuse organizations. So we partner with District 90, District 97, District 200, way back in River Edge Hospital. We have parent groups, PTO members. We have representatives for media. We have some business owners, and we have law enforcement. And so again, this is a community coalition, and everything is driven by the decisions and the process that we go through with the strategic prevention framework. And that really gives us an evidence-based foundation to really know that what we're trying to do in this community is actually going to work. So what was the problem that we discovered through all the data is that the #1 source, that there's an underage drinking problem in Oak Park and River Forest. So 30% of 8th through 12th graders that report consuming alcohol in the past 30 days. Then the next data source from the IYS as well was that 12% of 8th through 12th graders who reported drinking were binge drinking, which is 5 or more drinks in a row within the past 2 weeks. out of those that had reported using alcohol. So our numbers were much higher than our state peers. We have worked diligently using some of our strategies that we had identified that would actually work in our community. What works here doesn't necessarily work in maybe an urban area or a rural area in another part of Illinois. But we had one of the higher consumption rates for most youth in the state of Illinois. So that was what we were looking at to try to identify. So what are some of the causes? Why? What contributes to that? We had access via retail outlets. There's favorable and adult parent attitudes. There's also a low perception of harm. Then some of the local conditions that were identified was adults providing alcohol to minors, fake IDs, lack of consequences, and a lack of understanding of the social hosting law. So fake IDs is completely on the rise, and they are much more, effective than fake IDs of the past. And those definitely are a problem among most communities in really across the country. Marijuana and vaping is also something that we are looking at. Obviously, everyone is probably no stranger to the vaping epidemic that we had about a year ago. Our numbers have come down, but we also legalized marijuana at the beginning of 2020. So we're about a year into the legalization of that, but some of the identifying contributing factors coming out of the Illinois Youth Survey from that was that the community doesn't think it's a big deal, that vaping products are practically can go undetected. There's a lack of odor. They're hard to detect. The rate of access, it's really easy for kids to get these products. You can order them online. And also there's just social norming, normalizing marijuana with its legalization, and the impact that this has on children. And that's something that is important to understand. Positive youth development, our focus is on youth. So the evidence-based strategies, some of the things that we identified to address underage drinking and to help lower our numbers are youth prevention education. So in District 200, they do a program with the students. It's called Project Towards No Drug Abuse. It's offered in the health classes. And the idea behind this was that every student was going to get the same information at the same time, and they were going to get it early on. All ninth graders were taking that in their health class. And then I know Officer Ransom does a program in River Forest, Too Good for Drugs. And that's just an example of youth prevention education. And we can certainly increase the programming that we are doing in our community. Compliance checks. This is a strategy that we are partnered with the law enforcement. We go in and we check to make sure that the liquor license holders are properly identifying, asking and carding kids or adults, anyone that comes in to purchase alcohol, that they are doing it properly. This is not meant to punish. It is meant to be proactive and empower business owners to really abide by the law and really practice. Not only, it protects their business as well. Then communication campaigns. This is both parent and youth. We come up with marketing and ads. As you can see, this was at a law enforcement training back about a year and a half ago for the law enforcement to learn how to do the compliance checks. And this is an example of a parent message. So everything is a positive light. We're not going to, we just want parents to be mindful, keep an eye on, and understand and educate what's actually going on in the community. And then we do the same thing for the youth. We have activities and ads and marketing towards banners in the parks, and then also at the high school. And then CADCA, Community of Anti-Drug Coalitions of America, is kind of like our go-to for all prevention and education strategies. And the goals there is that to really address underage drinking, you need to address the whole community. So the 7 strategies that the guidelines that we follow is to provide information, build skills, provide support, change barriers and access, change consequences and incentives, and alter the physical design of the environment, and work on changing policy, rule, practices, and procedures. So the drug-free communities, we have two goals. The first one is to increase community collaboration. So we would like to do that by increasing membership, getting involved, provide education and presence in the community, and grow partnerships with local government and policymakers. And then the DFC goal number 2 is to reduce youth substance use, youth and parent campaigns, like I mentioned, and the compliance checks. And then hopefully that will reduce the permissive attitudes and provision by parents. The coalition is made up of work group or separate committees. So we have a PYD committee that focuses on parents and youth at the school. We have a youth advisory council and HYPE. HYPE stands for Healthy Youth Peer Educators. And that's a group of students at District 200. They go into classrooms and do peer-to-peer education, not only on substance use, but also other mental health issues. The Youth Advisory Council is open to middle school students that want to try to, learn to work with local government and then to advocate positive prevention messaging in the community. We also have a data committee, and then the addiction recovery team, or ART, recently joined our coalition as well. So they work on recovery, reducing stigma, prevention and recovery really go hand in hand. And then we have COVID-19. And obviously, as Pam mentioned, switching gears and doing things differently. And a lot of people were doing things differently too. So I just have, I don't need to sit here and say how much this has impacted us, our mental health. We're worried, the increase in mental health, depression, suicide, overdoses has increased. But I do want to say that alcohol sales increased 262% since 2019, and that's online sales. So we know there's an increase in, you can download an app, you can do Instacart, and then you have the, the delivery driver being responsible for carding the person that has purchased the alcohol. There's a 54% increase of national sales in alcohol alone from March to September of 2020. And then 95,000 people die from excessive alcohol use every year. So if we start to look at the impact of COVID-19, I think this is something else we have to be mindful and aware of, and really work to together to address some of the issues that are facing our youth. And we're all at home more, so that stay-at-home order has contributed to Zoom happy hours, or the parent, and kids watch this, kids see their parents participating and probably drinking more because everybody's at home together. So here's 50 things to do besides drink alcohol. It's probably better for everyone's mental health as well. And here's just some photographs of some of the things that we've been doing. We participate in National Take Back Day, which is a day you can get rid of all your unused prescription medication. We set up in the parking lot at the 105 South Oak Park Avenue building, and we partner with the law enforcement and the DEA, and that has been very successful in getting the medications out of people's cabinets and out of the wrong hands. And then we set up at the Day in Our Village, and we hope that one day we can get back to these in-person events. But we just are here to educate the community on, things that we can all be collective and work together to address the health of our youth. And then we are on Facebook and Instagram, and I'll add that to the slide before I send it over to post. And then some of the other prevention initiatives that we are doing at the township, we are providing a prevention newsletter to go home with the seniors. It's just a little something that they can get. There's some information on mental health, or things to look out for, things to do to stay, some self-care tips. There's also like a little puzzle or word find just to kind of engage with the seniors. We also are doing screening. So if you have a youth that you're not sure, you have questions, or you don't know where to start, we do offer free assessments. You are welcome to call just to talk to someone if you are unsure of what direction to go, or you have questions or concerns. And then we also do the FACE IT program, which is Families Acting Collaboratively to Educate and Involve Teens. This is for kids that might be vaping, or it's come out of adjudication. Instead of just getting a punishment, it's meant to be proactive. You participate with your parents, and it's life skills as well. So you learn anger management, making healthy choices, handling stress, in addition to learning about alcohol and marijuana and the dangers of that. So that's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Kelly. I think our moderator is going to take a look, see if there's any questions that come up. Okay, on this slide, just to reiterate, you can visit the websites at the top. Lots of information coming across from Senior Services and Positive Youth Development. Feel free to log on and dig a little deeper into what they offer and how you can support their organizations. Thank you to our guest presenters from the townships. We appreciate all that you guys are doing to help us and help our community. Moving along into our crime prevention section. I'd like to talk briefly about a common scam we're seeing here in the community and across Illinois. Probably many of you are familiar with the IDES fraud scam. We've had numerous reports of fraudulent activity through the Illinois Department of Employment Security. The scam involves someone fraudulently filing for unemployment in your name, trying to access the funds that would be made available to you. The scams range from people receiving debit cards from IDES, though they didn't file for unemployment, or even receiving
Ben, we lost the audio. Can you hear us?
Can you guys hear me through the cell phone here?
Yeah.
You have not entered any numbers. Please re-enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Just give us 1 second. We're trying to get the microphone back up.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Okay, we'll just continue this way. Can I just get some thumbs up that you guys can hear me? Okay, excellent. Sorry about that. When we edit this video, we can probably get rid of that part. So I was saying that if you received a debit card from IDES or any other paperwork saying that something was filed in your name or family member's name and that it's not accurate, you can contact IDES through illinois.gov/IDES. Report it to them as fraud, monitor your bank accounts, check the credit bureaus, and any other information that you need on identity theft information, you can contact our police department. But just know that you are not alone in that, as it is being addressed by IDES themselves. Speaking of scams and fraud, this is one of the many scams and frauds that we will be covering in an upcoming presentation in early spring, which will likely be offered as a webinar. This presentation will be given by myself with a member of the United States Security Exchange Commission, and we will be addressing phone and email scams, investment fraud, home repair fraud, and many others. So stay tuned for information on attending that webinar seminar. The question came in, if I received a IDES card, am I required to file a report? And do I need to can I file a report with River Forest if I don't live in River Forest? First of all, it's in your best interest to file a claim directly with IDES, as they are the ones who are allocating funds. So you don't want them to be allocating funds to someone in your name. So they need to know that first of all, that was fraudulently submitted. Secondly, you can file that with whatever village you live in and get on record that you filed with IDES and your local department. Any direct questions on that, you can contact me as well if you need more information on that. To stay up to date on presentations that we give, go to www.vrf.us. Up at the top right, you'll see a Get News and E-News and Alerts. You can click that to join our email, join the email chain and get notifications on when our new meetings are, when the webinars are, and everything else. So stay up to date with the village. Some more services that I always pitch that we offer here at the department, our emergency ID bracelet program. We just had a new registration that came in this week, and we got a new bracelet for a new member. Child safety seat inspections, vacation watches, you can see everything up there on the list. One thing I wanted to highlight this month is our iSearch program. iSearch is a program that we teach in the schools, and we partner with the fire department, the police department, township volunteers, as well as our emergency dispatch communicators to teach assemblies on fire safety, how to protect one's property, their person, how to call 911, how to recognize an emergency, and everything in between. With the COVID pandemic, obviously there has been a real tough time getting us into schools, getting this pertinent information out. So what we did was we created a educational film to address all these issues and be made available to teachers for their individual classrooms, as opposed to gathering all the students for an assembly. So we look forward to rolling out the film to public and private schools in the coming month, and are just glad that we had the opportunity and backed by the village and the township to make this available and continue doing what we do with iSearch amid the pandemic. Finally, I will turn it over to our detectives unit, to Detective Sergeant Justin Labriola, for some crime trends and statistics.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in this evening. I know it hasn't been too easy, especially with some of the technical difficulty we had earlier. I do want to go over some crime trends that we had and what we're seeing right now. Officer Ransom just touched on some of the scams that we've seen recently, and that's predominantly been some of the cases that we've seen come across our desk. I do want to applaud the residents of River Forest, particularly throughout the holiday season. We had a significant decrease in thefts, typically package thefts, that we've seen in my 16-year career. I think part of that is that people are being a little bit more vigilant. They're contacting their neighbors, they're contacting the police department. I think they're taking some of our advice with the installation of Ring and Nest cameras. So that's been good. Overall, crime has reduced within the village, especially Part 1 and Part 2 offenses. Violent crimes have decreased, property crimes have decreased. So we're seeing that trend. Again, like I say, if you see something, say something. We have the opportunity to contact us anytime. That's why we're here. So we'll investigate any cases. We'll take any video that typically has a good outcome for us to go ahead and follow up on those cases. If there is Ring camera, we've used that a lot with addition to our River Forest street cameras and fixed license plate readers. So that's definitely been good. Other than that, I really can't say that there's too much, because right now, like Chief O'Shea said, that there has been an increase of carjackings in the city of Chicago. We fortunately have not had any carjackings yet this year. We've not had very many in 2020. When I seen that in years past, that was a problem. So I think that we curbed that. The police department, as well as the residents working together collectively, I think has done just a remarkable job together. These community meetings have really, I think, helped out. We've gotten good input from folks. I've gotten phone calls and emails from people who've reached out to me directly. So I encourage that. Again, we've seen a significant decrease. Hopefully we're trending in the right direction. And like I've said, a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. So that's what we continue to move forward and pursue. Just continue doing what we're doing, and hopefully crime continues to decrease. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. My contact information is on the village's website, on the police department site. So if you do need anything, feel free to reach out to me or my partner, Mike Freeze. I think, I'm sorry, what was the question one more time? What can I do to prevent being carjacked? I think the most important thing is be vigilant. Keep your doors locked. In the past and in neighboring communities, we've actually seen minor traffic accidents where an offender would bump the rear of someone's car. If you do feel unsafe, call us immediately. You can keep your doors locked, you can move off to another part of the road. Just always remember that if your car is insured, it is just a car. Okay, it's something that typically we have a good amount of success recovering the car. I think the most important thing is make sure that you're safe as well as the other occupants in your car. So again, keep your doors locked, be vigilant, and always call us. Any other questions? Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Detective Sergeant. We will open it up for questions now. Anyone else who has a pressing question to ask, I will have Chief O'Shea come back up. But in the meantime, is Pamela still with us?
I'm here.
She might not be.
No, I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Okay. Pamela, can you speak briefly just about the home repair service? I know it's fairly new, so some of our viewers may not be aware with what's available.
Sure. Sure. So both the townships in Oak Park and River Forest and the villages are working on a partnership to bring a home repair program to our communities. It is a collaboration with the Northwest Housing Partnership, where they have an existing program that has been running for about 6.5 years, and they are willing and able to bring Oak Park and River Forest communities into the fold for that program. So it's a matter of them administering the program and the townships and villages supporting the funding for that administration. So these are not emergency projects. They are, handyman type projects that happen, that are needed around the house. They can include things like, installing grab bars, or cleaning gutters, or, a new faucet, or various different things. We continually at Senior Services do get calls about, home repair, and just being unsure of a trusted handy person to come in and make those repairs. So this really was an opportunity to bring in some trusted professionals who can offer this service, and do it in a way where older adults can feel safe about having someone come into their home.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us. And I believe that provided some additional information that some of our area residents were not aware of. This is a time of the night where we usually take some questions. We've already taken some, and we'll be checking to see if any come in. I just want to share just a couple more things here before we close out the evening. You have the ability to contact us in many different ways, whether it's via phone, email, stopping in now that the front desk is open, and also stopping an officer on the street, whether he's driving by and you wave him down to talk to him, or he's walking through our business district, school, and park areas. Please feel free to talk to them. They want to engage with you, even if it's not a matter regarding public safety or crime. I also want to mention that we'll continue this year in 2021 to expand outreach to the community and to work directly with residents to improve both public safety and quality of life issues. We hope everyone gets vaccinated and stays healthy in 2021. And at this time, before we close out, just checking to see if there's any other questions, I would ask Officer Ransom to step back up and just kind of expand a little bit on the Nest Ring cameras and other security cameras, and what he's seeing when he's talking to residents, and also a little bit about the expansion we're seeing on low voltage lighting, LED lighting, and landscape lighting, as far as how that's improving safety in the village.
Generally, typically simple lighting, additional lighting, or even proximity sensors added to your house around your residence can be a big deterrent for would-be offenders. So just keeping the area well lit where you can see what's going on, your neighbors can see, and officers can see around your property during our patrols is pretty important. We've noticed that, like I said, proximity sensors on your driveways or on your back porch can go a long way. As far as the addition of cameras outside, cameras are ever getting better, constantly getting better with better technology, better captures and lenses. Some things you need to be aware of is battery life, especially out now in the cold, and making sure that the batteries don't go out and are not rendered useless by cold weather. We do encourage everyone to invest in these cameras. They go a long way in solvability for our crimes that come across, and for keeping just an eye on your property and being aware of what's going on in your house. So maybe you haven't been victimized by a crime, but maybe your camera could go a long way in solving crime for someone else. And anytime we get that information, it helps our detectives. solve their cases and get a better view of what's going on. So we definitely would recommend getting cameras and investing in those. And as the technology gets better, they're being made more affordable and more accessible. So definitely something to look at, and you can contact me with more questions about that as well.
Thank you, Officer Ransom. I'd like to, just as we're closing out, thank our guest speakers tonight for taking the time out of their evening to share. And once again, it's proof of the amazing resources and partnerships that the River Forest and Oak Park community has. We look forward to seeing you at our second quarter meeting. And you will receive information on that. Just like we had 2 great guest speakers tonight, we will have 2 amazing guest speakers coming up in that next quarter meeting. Once again, reach out to any member of the staff that you heard tonight for follow-up questions. And Officer Ransom wears many hats, and he is very well known and very easy to get a hold of, as well as myself and the detectives and Patrol Commander Greenwood. Just want to thank everyone for watching tonight or watching the recording. Please have a safe evening, safe rest of the winter. Let's get vaccinated, and let's get back into the swing of somewhat normal activities again. On behalf of the Village President, Kathy Adduci, and the Village Board, please have a great evening.